Hello all, it's James Johnson, aka Software Played. Welcome back to my channel, welcome back to my content, and welcome back to Burden of Command. So you actually missed a little bit. I started up the game and a whole video montage started, and there was really no way to stop it or pause it. So you basically missed some veterans talking about things related to the game, I suppose. Would have been nice to have had it in the video, but sadly didn't work out that way. Anyway, here we are. The critique, the referees confer, clipboards are exchanged, dialogue concerning your performance begins and ends. Mission, minor victory, secured both objectives in turn 4. Men, major victory, referees determined that casualties were minimal, below 10%. You were able to send the wandering squad out of danger, but that wasn't part of our criteria. You fulfilled the assault criteria. The field umpire indicates and idly taps the top of his clipboard with his pencil. You made an assault. If the men see you with them from time to time, Captain, they'll know you mean it when they have to go in, Sergeant Bennett says. Temporary morale boosting effects were acceptable, the field umpire says. The men know your voice, Captain, Sergeant Bennett says to you, and they'll respond. Rallying technique minimal, the field umpire remarked, casting a sideways glance at Bennett. He means you left things to your lieutenants, Sergeant Bennett says, which isn't terrible, but you have to be able to motivate them if someone takes it in the neck. Lastly, fire direction acceptable, the field umpire says as he taps the pencil on the top of the clipboard. When a captain directs fire like you did, Sergeant Bennett says, things get done. A majority of successful efforts, the field umpire notes, then signs the bottom of his clipboard. He means you squeaked past, Sergeant Bennett remarks. Eventually gain +4 XP. Next exercise. Tomorrow is another day. Sergeant Bennett agrees as the platoon sergeants organize the men into columns for the march back to the barracks. Hopefully Sergeant Layton has a hot dinner ready for them. They have certainly earned it. Alright, there must be some way to customize in this area. I would think you click on these things to customize. Yes, I want to edit. There we are. Well, I suppose. Now let's go with Lieutenant J. Johnson. Yeah, I'm fine with this portrait here. Insignias, eh? Yeah, I like that insignia for whatever reason. Can't rename the names of the platoons, evidently. Not that it's that important, I don't suppose. Alright. Done. Continue our journey. What's next? September 1942, Virginia, United States.
And that's where we left from. We left from Newport News when we went overseas to Africa then.
Now, when you were there, did you know where you were headed at that point in time?
Nope, nobody knew where we were going or anything. I mean, until after we were out to sea for, quite some time, and then somebody said we were going to Africa.
Right, another Friday, 25 September 1942, Camp Pickett, Virginia. The barracks at the other end of the courtyard are quiet and still as you approach. A starlight glance at your watch finds that it's almost time to resume training. They could use a full night's sleep, Lieutenant Bennett says as he falls in beside you. It's been a rough couple of days. I don't like that. How do I put it? This example right here doesn't make a lot of sense in what's going on. So, they could use a full night's sleep, Lieutenant Bennett says as he falls in beside you. It's been a rough couple of days. Yet they probably could, right? But if I choose to let them have a full night's sleep, then they're not going to get any experience from the exercise, which defeats the point of the exercise, right? So we got to go with this because we need to have the most experienced units we have before they actually end up in real war. That way less of them die, obviously. But honestly, if you have sleep-deprived men, they're not gonna get much out of the exercise, right? So at this point, really, these should be reversed, I think. I think you should get more experience if you actually let them sleep. But, what am I to say here? The lights come on and the orders begin. Those unfortunates that are slow to wake are turned out of their beds. Soon enough, the whole company goes through the routine shit, shower, and shave. After a quick and hot breakfast, they grab their gear and stumble in the dark, cursing softly under their breaths until the sunrise eventually puts an end to that. Brisk hike ensues. The map takes you right up a ravine, and the men stumble forward as best they can. Halfway to the top, the field umpire steps out from behind a tree. The expected clipboard is in hand. The sole exercise of the day, he calls down to you. Company level operations. You are to secure the road ahead, both the crossroads near the apple orchard and the hill overlooking it. The field umpire turns and gestures towards the crest of the nearby hill. Your men groan as they realize just how much further they have to go today. Why are the peaks always on top? Private Morris asks. They've always been up there, Private Patterson replies. Tradition. Ah, hell. This'll be easy, Sergeant Bennett remarks as he hikes to the top of the ravine beside you. We know our stuff, Lieutenant. Fire and movement, bombardments and assaults, nothing to worry about. Just a bit of a walk getting there. When the field umpire blows his whistle, enemy machine gun plunging fire. 2 casualties. Choose one of these men. He points to Morris and Patterson. Patterson points at Morris. Morris points back at Patterson. For all their wisecracks, both men are competitive soldiers. Patterson's definitely the cleverer of the two, and has that easygoing southern charm, but Morris has an excellent bullhorn voice when he needs to be heard, and hard-headed New York practicality to back it up. Morris and Patterson both look at each other, shrug, and topple over melodramatically. Alright, game. Thanks. The other casualty is your Sergeant Bennett, the field umpire indicates. However, he will be able to accompany you in spirit, as it were, but he may not pass along your commands. It's okay, Lieutenant. I don't feel dead, Sergeant Bennett remarks quietly. Kindly bring up your platoon guide to replace your platoon sergeant. His training is important too, the field umpire says. Grant comes forward. A swift explanation puts him in charge of the platoon. Both of you sergeants look your way as whistles blow once more. The rest of the men brace themselves for an uphill struggle. There is one thing, Sergeant Grant says. His sudden promotion to platoon leader clearly weighs heavily on him. It seems like every field problem included a part where if we forgot about cover, the refs would subtly remind us. Yeah, they love to shout out sniper. So since we know that, Sergeant Grant says, why don't we creep forward and take a quick look around? It'll slow us down, but we're waiting for Lieutenant Wilson anyway. The umpire signals the exercise commences. And there they are, a detachment of enemy soldiers waiting in the woods for you to come strolling towards the hill. You turn to Sergeant Grant and consider how best to both secure the crossroads and the elevated position. Really?
We're not done today!
Well, Dearborn's leading this round. What, can I not control anything Dearborn does? I guess I can't. I guess I have to let Dearborn do what he does. Is Dearborn gonna do nothing? Oh, I can do something with Dearborn now. Okay, well.
Pick it up!
Of course. Jesus Christ. Getting our asses kicked. Second platoon arrives. You point towards the hillside where 30-odd men, along with their umpire, scramble along the wooded crest. Lieutenant Wilson leads them from the front. The runners should make contact shortly, the field umpire says, and then checks his watch. So whose turn is it right now? Is it my turn? Is it Lieutenant Wilson's turn? I think it's Lieutenant Wilson's turn. Jesus Christ, this guy's over here. And here. We'll just creep them all up.
Kannst du sie sehen? Unsere Panzer kommen! Come on!
What would happen if we charged them? It doesn't look very good. Well, let's not do that.
Pour it on!
Only so much shit a man can stand.
Weiterfeuern!
Trust in me.
Out of turns. Okay.
Eisenhower! Kaputt! Deckungsfeuer!
The mortars arrive. A runner jogs over and halts before you. Lieutenant Stern says to tell you that he can have the mortars ready to pound the enemy to crap whenever the ref blows the whistle. That was quick. Sergeant Grant notes and glances toward the northeast where the runners came from. Usually the weapons platoon lags even further behind. We should send a runner to show him sight lines. Stern knows his work. The enemy has elevation, which makes their lines of sight superior, especially anything atop the hill where that machine gun is also set up. You can check the line of sight of any hex by left-clicking it. Shades hexes will show what can be seen. If need be, the line of sight tool reveals even more details. So whose turn is it supposed to be anyway?
Ross, focus!
The hell? I just bolstered this machine gun. Shouldn't they now be able to shoot? The hell does this do? Okay. Unit morale +2. Unit movement points +2. Combat initiative improved. Unit firepower. Morale check. Leader must be in. Yeah, I don't get that. Right, mortars, can you hit them, please? Thank you. Now, whose turn is it? Is it whoever I select its turn to be? Inactive. 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 They really could do a better job with this. Why do I have to click end turn here to actually get a turn to start?
Let's get back out there!
Failed assault. Shit, Sergeant Grant says as the refs decided that the assault didn't work. We need to get the men fired up before we try that again. Make sure you're using a high morale unit to attempt the assault, and whenever possible, bolster them. I did.
No can do! Let's get back out there!
Now whose turn is it? I have no idea who's supposed to be up. Dearborn?
rally around me.
Move it.
A messenger from Company HQ hurries over. Lieutenant Captain Lamb wants you over at the command post now. And that's a direct order. When Nichols' company commander says to come over, Nichols' platoon leader comes over. You find Captain Lamb, map in hand, with 3 other messengers, 1 each for 2nd, 3rd, and the weapons platoon. After he glances your way, he dismisses them. Them fellows really want to put us in a pickle, don't they? He asks as you approach. Nod. Of course, they won't admit it, he says, and taps his map. The umpires say we need to take that hill without taking too many casualties. What do I need to know? And they don't make it easy, Captain Lamb notes. Okay, we'll develop your plan. What are the sightlines? My plan. The hill does dominate, Captain Lamb remarks. So they've got an MG that outranges our rifles, Lamb notes. And they've probably got even more squirreled away. Cover's good for us, but also good for them. Anything else, Lamb asks? Well, let's get to it, Captain Lamb says, and let's slip an eager smile that stirs your nearby men to action. Would you stop with that? Put that hand down, Lieutenant. Captain Lamb says. You're liable to get one of us shot. Dismissed. And with that, you return to your platoon. For the first time in a long while, the entire company is training together.
Fire! Fire! We ain't done yet. Get the lead out of your butt!
He's used up his actions on that? Okay. Why are you taking such a crazy path?
Double time, gentlemen.
Das ist ein Heimatschuss! Right out!
Gentlemen, follow me. Prepare yourselves. Gentlemen, prepare for battle.
Quick time.
It is my squad's turn, is it? Looks like it. Huh. Can't rally them, why?
Come on!
A runner races over and motions hurriedly for the Empire's attention. Naturally, he gives it naturally. Sergeant Bennett slips over to you. He certainly doesn't look dead. How are you holding up, LT? Sergeant Bennett asked. We haven't taken the crossroads yet. Noticed. The Empire have too, and I've overheard a few things. Sergeant Bennett says and leans in. We can talk about how they work and especially this field problem as well as a solution. I assume that yellow thing means that something can see that spot. Yeah.
Haltet die in Deckung! Das ist ein Heimatschuss! Lace up your boondockers. We're finishing this. Lewis, with me! Hoof it!
Well, why did I push it if I can't use it?
Y'all get it together.
I did bolster it.
Let's get moving. Fire!
All of a sudden, Lieutenant Dearborn stands up, signaling the referees for a timeout as he strides towards you. Respect for our judges, we must protest the parameters of this exercise, Lieutenant Dearborn declares as he pulls out a pack of smokes. The enemy's fire has proven to be so accurate as to approach the supernatural. He draws in a deep breath and continues. The machine gun at the top of the hill is so well sighted that a prudent commander would surely bypass this approach rather than beating their head against it like Burnside at Fredericksburg. We have no smoke, we have no planes or sustained artillery. There are tools warranted for the resolution of a problem such as this one, and we have been allowed none of them. Your choice may change Dearborn or the battlefield. That is all. I have no other observations. If you will pardon me, I shall return to my command, Dearborn replies. At your dismissal, Dearborn heads off. When he reaches his men, he signals again to the Empire that they can continue the exercise. Hate to say it, but he does have a point, Sergeant Grant says to you. The enemy picks the ground when they're playing defense. Bennett would always say that. It's their battlefield. We're just fighting on it. Maybe it won't always be that way, but we've got to expect it will be. Sergeant Grant lets out a long breath. Doesn't matter what we want if we can't do it. Let's go kick them off that hill. Dearborn sure is undaunted at our prospect against the MG, Lieutenant. Sergeant Grant remarks lightly. Besides you, he's not wrong. And while soldiers are trained to take cover at the first crack of a rifle sound, sometimes it's better to keep moving, to reach good cover, or even close with the enemy in sight despite incoming fire. However, that gusto doesn't prevent casualties. The umpires are fond of saying that bullets don't consider bravery in the equation before they hit. Soldiers can get shot in this war even if they don't want to be. A shrill whistle blows. The exercise resumes.
Gentlemen, steel yourselves.
Let's get going!
Turn 6. Artillery is now available to your company, the field umpire indicates, then gestures to your radioman nearby. Your captain, Lamb, will call in the coordinates as he would in the field. We will rule for delays and accuracy of fire as needed. This includes possible issues with communications. Big guns, Sergeant Grant remarks. It's about time.
Come on, cotton balers! weiter!
We're gonna pound them flat. Let's win this one. Move them out.
Really? Off map requires a spotter, huh? Support 105. I pretty much can't see anything because it has to be what the captain can see. So I just put myself in a terrible spot.
We're not licked yet.
Armies?
Eiserne Kreuze wach.
Hey, Kaugummisoldaten!
Why is it? Huh.
Rest assured the tide is turning. Show them what cotton balers can do.
Mickey Mouse ist kaputt!
Ross, aim high!
Too far, no low morale.
out of your butt. With me, pronto. Fire!
What the hell happened there? Huh? In command? Why is he in command? What do you mean, will lead? I want one of these guys to lead. Which, that probably wasn't the person I actually wanted, but oh well.
Move out! Let's get those bastards!
So they've got mortars, Sergeant Grant says, as he eyes the umpire's flags, and the umps are raising their flags when we push forward. That means they're close, maybe on the reserve slope somewhere. We gotta find those guns and silence them. No spotter or line of sight. Right. How about here?
Y'all get it together.
The hell? What happened? I told you guys to... What the... Why won't you do what you're told? Assault. Flanking morale boost. The hell? They took off without the leader. says he's in command, but he's not in command? Yeah, I don't...
It'll take more than this to stop us.
Move up!
What was that?
Suspicious barn, huh?
Don't get frisky!
The enemy command post. Word comes back to you. The enemy CP, a barn, has been captured. Inside were maps, indicators, and locations of the dam orders. Trouble is, those tubes are in an almost unreachable dell to the northwest. I can't move you. Okay. Where's the captain? You can't call in orders? No. Poster?
Form up!
Well, do it. What the hell?
Keep firing!
Fuck game! I told you to assault, not shoot. Why didn't you move? Alright, Captain, can you rectify this problem? What happened there? What? Why do assaults just randomly do nothing? It's pissing me off.
Nothing fancy this time.
What the? This game pisses me off.
We're on the clock.
Gentlemen, follow me.
So I feel like we should have taken that this round, but several assaults just randomly decided not to work for whatever fucking reason. What just happened? I swear, this game.
We're not licked yet.
Frag out.
Follow me, men.
Unreal. Well, shouldn't that be the end of the training? Why are we still here? The fuck? They said they've removed the artillery from the field. Why am I being shot at? I'm so confused right now. Whose unit's that? Where's my other unit? Is the captain using it, maybe? Yeah.
Come on!
Why is the exercise still going? What the hell's going on? Do we have to stand somebody physically on top of this thing? We do. Okay, is it over now? I don't understand what's going on. Certainly we're done. Shouldn't we be done? The man, major victory. The mission, minor victory. Yeah. No one out of action, sir.
"7 decades ago, we were all so young, full of piss and vinegar, as they say, ready for the great crusade which lay ahead of us. We were out for payback because of the Japanese sneak attack on Pearl Harbor. Some far-off place many of us had never even heard of prior to December 7th, 1941.
And I finished out that school year and enlisted in the Army in 1942.
The exercise ends. This is an informal report to be given to your Captain Lamb. Nickel Company's solution to this exercise was practical. The field umpire says as he reviews his notes, no outstanding complaints. We pass, Sergeant Bennett says, clearly glad to be counted as back amongst the living. Next, the field umpire says and lifts up a paper on his clipboard. Your riflemen moved up quickly and they were somewhat late in reaching the midway point. The killing ground before the hill was readily managed. Once the artillery became available, the final approach occurred when expected. He means the artillery made the difference, Sergeant Bennett remarks softly. The field umpire shuffles his papers. The solution to the mortars was typical, he notes, and came amid the expected duration. Sergeant Bennett doesn't glare at the man. Not quite. The wind blows, the stuttering cough of a machine gun, a real one, echoes in the distance. My report on the relative merits of Nickel Company's performance will be submitted formally to your Captain Lamb by the end of the day. The field umpire says that is all. Permission to speak, Sergeant Bennett asks. Denied, the field umpire replies. Dismissed. I'm sure it'll be fine. I admire the optimism, Sergeant Bennett says, but that asshole was looking for an excuse to write you up. Must think it builds character, shit like that, Lieutenant. I'll stay optimistic. Maybe it'll blow over. Maybe they just want to shake your tent a bit. Make sure you're awake, Bennett says. But either way, there's dinner waiting and you've got a report to deliver. He knows what we need to do. Bennett has Grant assist with the men. 2 sergeants are, after all, better than 1. Once your platoon is assembled, you lead the way on the march. Warily, you all tramp back down the road you came up from earlier today. Eventually, Morris and Patterson start up a little dirty cadence about walking in Louisiana. The pace picks up. They know that dinner is waiting. A short march, a hot dinner, and then it will be time to sleep. Tomorrow is yet another day. Tank Country. 26 September 1942, Virginia, United States.
So the 6 of us go downtown Bloomington, Indiana, for Indiana University. We're all going to join the Marines. Well, I still only weighed about 123 or 124 pounds, and I was 5'11", 6 foot tall, And the recruiter sort of hum-hawed around and said, well, we're filled up right now. You come back in 6 months. So we were all of us were tall, skinny, I guess, so we all went downtown, a couple blocks downtown Bloomington, walked in the recruiting office, Army, sat down, and the recruiter just gave us a piece of paper and says, sign here. It's that simple.
26 September 1942, Camp Pickett, Virginia, Saturday morning. Trouble in the barracks. Specifically, 6 cartons of K rations were found stashed in the ceiling. No cigarettes, no candies, no biscuits. Sergeant Bennett notes, as the two of you sort through the cardboard cartons. They left the meat cans. Guess they weren't hungry for anything but sweets and cigs. Someone will have to answer for this theft, and no one has stepped forward to take responsibility for it. The whole platoon. Stealing is a crime. The men are well fed from the mess halls. Taking K rations, field rations, was completely unnecessary. The thieves just didn't want to pay for anything from the commissary. And since the men undoubtedly know who did this, and none of them have come forward, they can all be punished together. Schedule a full pack march for tonight. Audible groan sweeps through the platoon as you announce the punishment march. There will be no going off base or free time for that matter. When I find those thieves, Morris mutters under his breath to his pal. Yeah. Hiding the cans up in the ceiling never works for long, Patterson replies. Idiots. Come the start of the next week, you and Bennett watch the men march past while Sergeant Grant calls cadence. They are 2 lean rows to review. Their full packs and rifles sway beneath a colorful canopy. A fine Virginia day for a march, with blue skies and cooling winds. Despite their failings, I'm proud of them. I still worry they're not ready. This is just the end of the beginning. You fall in beside them, your own gait marching their own. Along the nearby road, you see the other officers of Nickel Company talking in the shade of a big oak tree, their own platoons resting nearby. Can't say either way. A hard ass, yeah, but there's a place for that, Wilson says to Dearborn and Stern, his voice just barely edging above the marching song. You never know until you hear that first bullet snap. Glad he understands. Indeed, Dearborn replies. However, battle is the only way to separate gold from dross. And hello there, Lieutenant. The others glance your way as you approach, but only Stern meets your gaze. The cough of an engine breaks up the tromp of boots as a tank in dark army green rattles down the road. Your men split off to either side and salute. Perching atop the oncoming tank is your company commander, Captain Lamb. He returns the salute of your men, and then once the tank clatters to a halt, clambers down. Lieutenant, the Army is fixing to provide additional training for Nickel Company. There will be an armored integration exercise, Captain Lamb says in his customary Texas drawl. Your men have been chosen to fight alongside actual tanks. Excellent, sir. It is, Lamb says. Your shiny record recommended your platoon to this training, but I would remind you that men must be led from the heart as well as the head. Because of that, there was some talk about whether you would not be better employed solely with training platoons, but in the end it was decided otherwise. Let's grip the hide on this one. The men are to march over for a final field problem, Lamb says, but you will guide this beast to the training ground to get an idea of what a tank can do. Now pay special attention to the methods of our steely brethren, for they are a strange people. I heard that, a voice calls out from the hatch of the tank, barely topping the idling engine. A moment later, a scruffy tanker pops his head out and stares at you, then Lamb. That's Sergeant Lintz, Lamb says, and neatly hides a grin. See you on the field. Lamb heads towards the gathering of Nickel Company's officers, stepping beneath the shade of the big oak tree. Well, he's the boss. A captain gives a lieutenant an order. That's how the army works. Top down. You hop aboard the tank and take up a position behind the turret. There is, after all, no room inside for an extra man. The tanker, wearing recently sewn sergeant stripes, idly taps at the steel that virtually surrounds him. Okay, where to, Lieutenant? Sergeant Lintz asks. The white stenciled name on the side of the turret reads Bandit. Our initial objective is across the river there, but maybe you want to take the scenic view? Let's go. Time for a Mississippi drive, Sergeant Lintz says, and pats the rear of the cupola. Hang on tight to your chessboard. We'll be taking a few curves. Unit personalization reminder. The tank lurches forward. Your teeth begins to rattle. Lintz certainly wasn't wrong. Tanks cannot pass through rocky terrain. Okay. Tanks cannot traverse heavy woods. Okay. Swamp terrain is utterly impassable. Going into water is right out. Motor over here. Move the metal, left click, select all units in a hex, right click in X. Tanks can't pass through heavy terrain unless they follow a road. Unless they follow a road, so. The driver eases into neutral and lets the bandit coast to a halt. Sergeant Lintz pops back up and then gestures broadly to the field of green in front of you. Welcome to the range, Lieutenant. Sergeant Lintz calls out over the din of the engine. In a few minutes, we get to take some shots for real. The bandit's little 37mm gun might seem like it's better suited for hunting squirrels, but it's got quite a kick. How do you want this? Lintz asks. I've given a lift to plenty of officers, and they all learn differently. So, who are you really? It is a good question. Alright, what kind of leader am I? There are 8 different mindsets that a leader might employ to help them navigate the ever-present tension between men and mission that often boils over into the crucibles of war. Alright, tell me about mindsets. 3 are aggressive, doctrine, idealism, and zeal. 3 others are preventative, cunning, discipline, and caution. And there are those centered specifically on the men or the mission, compassion or professionalism. Tell me about doctrine, idealism, or zeal. Doctrine pursues solutions via army methods. Idealism focuses on inspiring the men. Zeal seeks to overcome trouble with vigorous effort. Okay. Tell me about cunning, discipline, and caution. Cunning adapts and exploits new situations. Discipline focuses on regimentation and training to maintain unit cohesion. Caution seeks to prevent the worst from happening. Compassion compels the men to great things by the bond of fellowship. Professionalism achieves success by utilizing the army systems. Choose your initial mindset. A leader's primary mindset influences what other mindsets they can learn. 2 to the left of it on the wheel, and 2 to the right of them. That means a given leader may invest in only 5 mindsets total. Each mindset has a passive ability, and either an active ability or a company ability. If a leader possesses a mindset value greater than 2, then the mindset's abilities become enabled. A lieutenant may employ a single active ability of any type only once per scenario. A captain may employ an active ability for each mindset that is enabled. Alright, one more time. Each mindset has a passive ability and If a leader possesses a mindset value greater than 2, then that mindset ability becomes enabled. A lieutenant may employ a single active ability of any type only once per scenario. A captain may employ an active ability for each mindset that is enabled. Passive abilities may trigger repeatedly for any leader. Under certain circumstances, company abilities trigger at the end of a scenario. Mindsets are an investment. Low-value mindsets are just chrome. A captain with many mindsets is particularly potent. Mindsets can have a value no higher than 5. Furthermore, no more than 3 total mindsets may be enabled with a value greater than 2. For example, Lieutenant Dearborn might have these mindsets available to him. Idealism 0 not enabled. Zeal 2 not enabled. The value is largely just chrome. Cunning 5 primary and enabled. Professionalism 4 enabled. Discipline 3 enabled. Okay, furthermore, no more than 3 total mindsets may be enabled with a value greater than 2. Okay, so you can't enable zeal because that would be more than 3. Alright. And mindsets can have a value no higher than 5. Five possible mindsets up to 3 enabled. Up to 3 enabled. Got it. Undergoing a crucible may allow that leader to acquire or advance a given mindset. The further away the choice is from their primary mindset, the higher the cost in combat fatigue. Combat fatigue will be discussed once you enter actual combat. Well, it'd be nice to know what the mindsets do. Battle is brutal. There is no finishing from that. And the goal of a discipline-based leader is to make it so that their soldiers will not break and run from the inferno of combat. Discipline. Pour it on active ability. The officer's men know how to gain fire superiority. They acquire a significantly enhanced chance to win initiative akin to flanking and an improved fire effect akin to from above. The men also become undaunted when receiving fire. However, this costs the squad 2 orders to execute. Unyielding. Passive ability. On occasion, if receiving fire, the officer and men will first become undaunted and then rally for free after the conclusion. Discipline. Alright. That will do for now. Target practice on the way. Sergeant Lintz says and gives his drivers a nudge with his foot to shift back into gear. Best part of the day for us, not so great for the trucks, but not everyone can be a winner. Direct us to the course and we'll blow something up. Move here, huh? One, two, three. Why can I only go 3 here, but I can go 6 over here? Seems odd to me. Okay, why aren't you moving? Must stay in vehicle. Alright, whatever. Huh? That's not where I told you to go. Failure to maneuver. The bandit crests the rise. A flag goes up across the way. The referee holding it levels the familiar banner towards you. Killed by enemy action, Mac, Sergeant Lintz says and shrugs. You ordered me to move in plain view when another way might have concealed our movement? I mean, tanks can't hide like infantry can, and the bandit here isn't going to get tuckered out like them either. The safest way is the safer road. Apparently, I keep walking into this. The second objective. Your tank passes by a familiar captain with a clipboard and a referee's armband. He melodramatically shakes his head and then marks something down with a definitive stroke of the pencil before he waves you through. Yeah, we died, we get it. Sergeant Litz notes above the rumble of the engine. That fella gets most of us at least once. Always use a covered approach when practical. The bandit clatters to a halt. In the distance are several burned out trucks, each atop separate concrete slabs. The ruined hulks are just sitting there waiting to be hit. There's a lot that goes into taking a shot, Sergeant Litz tells you, as his gunners crank the turrets around to align on the truck to the right. Accuracy sucks. Pond stones if we're moving. We have to call a short halt if we're going to open fire. If the target is moving, things get dicey. If we can take time to aim all proper like, we've got a better chance of putting around where it hurts. You don't say. Okay, the gunner moves into position behind the cannon, shifting it about the last few degrees towards the burned out truck. The rule of the range is fire first, hit your mark, and go deep, Sergeant Litz says. Everything else is frosting on the cake. The gunner loads in a blue striped shell and closes the breech. Shoot the truck. Tanks can't shoot again immediately after shooting the first time. You'll have to move them or end the turn first. This makes veteran tank crews with 3 orders especially prized since they can shoot, move, shoot. Can we not see the truck? Evidently not. Okay. Why is the latest line of sight tool not working? I don't know if we're going to be experiencing resistance here, if we're just supposed to shoot the tank or what, but I don't know. the hell? What do we have to do to shoot the freaking thing? Cannon cracks, the round slams down the range, it buries itself into the burned out truck. Follows. Okay. That's high explosive. Sergeant Lintz calls over to you despite your ringing ears. We've also got shot from armored targets. Shot, I guess, armor piercing. Okay, let's prepare to fire at the next target. Aimed shot this time, Sergeant Lintz asked. Takes a bit longer, but we generally hit what we aim at, and the range hounds don't mind how long we take, just so long as we don't waste. What do I have to do? Shoot using aimed fire. Aimed fire costs 2 orders, but is much more accurate. Restless tank syndrome. Sergeant Lintz notes. It's very real. I think the Germans call it Scheifoften truck. I just ended the turn. Why don't I have my points back? We missed. Sergeant Lintz works with his gunners to find the proper range, figure out the drop of the shell, and then elevate the barrel. Finally, gunners squeeze the trigger. The round slams out and bounces off the distant target. Nearby, a referee raises a blue flag. Good hit, Sergeant Lintz declares, and that's the shooting drill. Okay, what's next? We get to play with others, Sergeant Lintz says. Move here, says the game. You know, this frickin' you have to hit the turn button twice bullshit is dumb. There's ever so much to learn, but the Army supplies plenty of manuals in addition to exercises like this one. Official ambush. The bandit lurches to a halt. Ahead you see squads shifting about amid low cover. They've all got red armbands. That makes them the enemy. It's an ambush, Sergeant Litch calls back. The other crewmen let out a chorus of unsurprised chuckles. We're ever so lucky we spotted them. Could have been a mess even if they don't have anti-tank guns up front. Time to reverse into a protected position and wait for support. Okay, let's reverse out of here then. Can do, Lentz declares, and thumps his driver lightly on the back and gives the order. Press the reverse button to move the tank backwards without turning the unit around. That will keep the armor and cannon facing the enemy, a good thing. Granted, I have to hit the turn button in order to get to that point. The tank reverses down the slope and out of sight of the infantry. And even if they do appear, there are those stone walls to soak up some fire. We're in position, Sergeant Litz calls out. Now we can wait for your boys to show. Tanks can't assault enemy positions after all. That's the infantry's job. That's the idea, Sergeant Lentz says. It was good to have you, but now, Lieutenant, you should rejoin your fellow Mudfoots. See you around, Lentz. Where are my fellow Mudfoots? Without the weapon platoon to call on, use the tank in conjunction with your squads to seize the objectives. Okay. Well, where are my guys? Unknown.
Hello, LT. It's Luke, breaking through the fourth wall one last time to wish you good luck. Things are about to get real. The burden of command, the tension between men and mission, is about to increase. Your opponents will become more capable. So I'm wishing you the best of luck in making those difficult decisions. For making it through this campaign in this war, and for having an engaging experience. But more, I hope, and the vets who are on this team also hope, it will connect you to those who have served, not only in recent wars, but in World War II, like my own mother and father. I'll leave you with the thoughts of your division commander, General Truscott.
Okay. It is time to finish your training. Where am I? I wish it would just take me to myself on the battlefield. That must be me there.
Can't stand the things.
What?
It's like
You mean
cake.
today?
Never liked green eggs. Till I joined the army.
A mortar, huh? Who's controlling that? Captain. Oh, you can't spot it. Right.
not licked yet. Y'all get it together.
Hey, Kaugummisoldaten! Das ist kein Austria!
Rally bolster. Doesn't exactly seem very useful for the tank.
Steady. Fire!
Come on!
Drag out those bastards.
Stay close! We're gonna pound them flat.
Hmm. Too far, you say? Okay.
Keep at him. Lewis, with me!
I don't have any orders. Is that what's going on? These guys have orders, though. Wonder, can they?
We gotta get him!
Okay, excellent. the hell? I told you guys. Evidently you don't have the morale.
Teach Frenchie a lesson! Come on, cotton balers!
Uh-oh. No? Alright, well, whatever. Next turn.
Follow me, men.
A cry of victory goes up. The objective is taken. We got him, boys. Sergeant Bennett calls out. Red team just lost again. Sergeant Grant notes. The men of Nickel Company cheer wearily and gather round. The tank likewise draws near, chewing up the ground as it goes. No, 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 the field umpire shouts as he moves up to the tank and smacks its side twice. That halts the muddy endeavor. You'll get bogged down. He's not wrong, Sergeant Bennett notes, as the two of you walk over to hear the official results from the latest exercise. Once more, the field umpire turns to you with the clipboard in hand. Behind him, the tank slips into reverse. The field umpire is slow to realize his looming fate. Bennett pushes the officer out of the way of the grinding treads. But the treads don't stop clawing backwards. Bennett falls into their path. You race towards Bennett. His leg goes under the track with a sickening crunch. You grab hold and pull. Your hand slips and meets the treads. Agony rises and consumes you. Medic, Sergeant Grant calls out as the world turns dark. Medic, right goddamn now. Sergeant Bennett survives. Draw? What do you mean draw? Sergeant Bennett was maimed. Wake up. Your eyes snap open. The missing finger on your hand burns. Captain Lamb looms above, his aquiline features pale in the naked light of the cramped wardroom. You okay, ass? The shared pain from the training accident is still written in his eyes, even after these busy weeks. It's time to get up, Lieutenant. The final briefing is in 5 minutes. Rust, sea, and sweat come with the breath. Captain Lamb extends a hand to help you to your feet. The subtle shift of the ship beneath your boots nearly makes you stumble. A creak of the hull, followed by a low moan of the protesting steel, is an unpleasant reminder that home is now far away. 8th November 1942, off Morocco. The ship creaks and groans as you flex your hand. Lamb leads the way aft towards the briefing room of the Tasker H. Bliss. You've grown used to the old troop ship's complaints during the crossing, but you won't have to put up with them for much longer. I know you're still having a bad time with what happened to Bennett, Captain Lamb says, as the two of you walk through the busy corridor lined with empty brackets and torn screws, remnants of the furniture that used to clutter the halls of the Bliss in its past life as a liner. He should be here rather than strapped to a bed, but we can't change that. We can only accept our responsibility and keep moving. Right, I know, I keep telling myself that. Me too, Captain Lamb replies. Maybe one of these days I'll believe it. But listen, what we need right now is a field officer. That's why I fought your transfer. When the orders came down, I know you'll lead your men, and you'll weigh the mission against men. Men you know. Men who all have someone waiting for them at home. That is our burden. I get it, sir. I won't let you down, or them. Good. You keep calm. Look after your men, and do the best you can, Captain Lamb says. As he turns to face you, behind him, a team of crewmen carry a man on a stretcher past. The wounded man's arm lies at a hard angle, and white bone juts out. Not a single boat has been lowered, and now, let's go lead. Captain Lamb grasps your shoulder and gives it a fatherly squeeze. His resolution is impossible to miss. Memories. Shouts arise from on deck, a deck packed with soldiers, guns, and ordnance. It never ends, does it? Captain Lamb mutters as he hurries up the ladder, leaving you alone at the threshold of the briefing room. Captain's in a hurry. You hear, Private? Roberts says above the din of the nearby mess hall. The enlisted man cradles a mess tin filled to the brim with what could charitably be called potatoes and eggs. The stuff is only edible due to a layer of ketchup. Even the worst of Sergeant Layton's cooking had been better than what the Navy's galleys serves us here. Have to expect that with Lamb. Private Hancock replies to his fellow private, and equally ketchup-drenched mess, tin in hand. He needs to keep busy.
But all resistance, by whomever offered, must be destroyed.
Why is that? Private Roberts asks, his friend confusion edging into his features. Well, word is, Lamb's old man really screwed up back in the last big one, Private Hancock says, and then darts a theatrical glance left and right. Got hundreds killed in France, or something like that. Hope it doesn't run in the family. Somewhere in the distance, a soldier begins to recite a speech. General Patton's speech, mimicking the general's piercing voice. You approach Hancock with your most intimidating gaze. The man's eyes locks upon your maimed hand as you inform him of your views on gossiping. Roberts gets his share of things by mere proximity. Yes, sir. Sorry, sir. Private Hancock manages to stutter out once you finally let him apologize. We'll eat on deck, Lieutenant, quietly, Private Roberts says, and hurriedly tugs at his friend's sleeve. Lieutenant, a familiar voice calls from behind you. As the two privates disappear, you turn to see Sergeant Grant. His features tight with their usual strain. As he steps into the corridor's sparse light, in his sinewy hands he cradles a cup of steaming dark liquid that doesn't clog the nose like his usual blackstrap coffee. The captain thought you could use this, he explains. Good Lord, that smells like real coffee. It's as real as it gets, Sergeant Grant says as he passes the cup. He isn't kidding. The coffee is a rich brown instead of the usual tar-like horror that the crew of the Bliss normally brews. Its warmth in your hand proves a welcome ally against the night's chill. Nickel Company's other lieutenants are already seated when you step through the door. The briefing room, really just a cleared section of the cargo hold, grows crowded as the officers from 3rd Battalion dribble in. Everyone seems eager to know if any part of the plan has changed. Final briefing. A hush fills the room as your battalion commander, Major Eugene Cloud, steps beside a chalkboard filled with times, movements, arrows, and unit symbols. The major idly brushes a hand against his gold oak leaves insignia, then glances pointedly at Sergeant Grant. The NCO briskly steps back into the corridor. The other lieutenants quickly take seats, crowded together by companies. It's been a long trip on this most pleasant of luxury liners, Major Cloud remarks, letting a scattering of nervous laughter from the other officers fade before he swings his pointer towards the largest of the maps. But here we are, gentlemen. Welcome to French Morocco. Sip my coffee and listen. The coffee proves hot and bracing enough to dispel the last of your wariness. Major Cloud's pointer sticks smacks against a map pinned beside the chalkboard. A slice of Morocco is inked there, though the details are sparse. At 0445 hours, our regiment will land as a part of the 3rd Infantry Division under Major General Patton. Our objective is to subdue all French, that is to say, Vichy French, forces in Morocco. In particular, 3rd Battalion will be landed last as a reserve to assist the 1st and 2nd Battalions in their effort to seize key fortifications and coastal batteries here. The tip of his pointer slides over to the arc of a sheltered harbor near a small port town called Fadala. The coffee doesn't lose its charm until near the bottom when you finally start tasting the bitter grits of the grounds. With the tip of his pointer, Major Cloud outlines the landing beaches, Red 3, Red 2, Red 1, the last of which is where your company will come ashore. This is America's first operation in the Western Theater. We cannot afford to follow this up. Major Cloud declares, we have surprise. We'll use it to overwhelm the Vichy in Fadala before Casablanca can send reinforcements. Until our artillery lands, the Navy will lend us their guns. For air power, we have the planes of the USS Ranger. The dregs are bitter but potent. You feel entirely awake. The pointer slides inland and taps against possible enemy concentrations. Most of the French soldiers posted here are colonial troops, so they might not want to fight for Marshal Pétain. The major continues, but if they do, don't hesitate to open fire. Speed is key. The pointer races the expected line of advance from the landing zone through Fadala and to Casablanca. As stated, 1st and 2nd Battalion will form the initial waves. N Company, Major Cloud says, and looks at you, will act as guides and secure a landing zone for the rest of the 3rd Battalion when we go ashore. An hour after the initial landing, if there are problems once ashore, it falls to us to step out of the reserve and pick up the slack. Any questions, comments? Now is the time to ask. What about civilians? Avoid civilian casualties if you can. We're Harris liberators, not conquerors, Major Cloud notes. Johnson, a fresh second lieutenant from L Company, asks about the possibility of attacking French armor. Oh, there's another Johnson, huh? Of attacking French armor with heavy machine guns. Apparently, he'd seen it in some old training film. The Major puts an end to that foolish notion. Enemy tanks are preferable to be engaged by anti-tank guns and friendly armor. Firing at the vision ports is a last resort. If there are no tanks, how far do we liberate? Captain Lamb asks as he steps through the door. His hands are blackened by oil and grease that a rag can't quite clean. Get ashore first before worrying about hitting out. I imagine we'll take Fadala early, then head for Casablanca soon enough, Major Cloud replies, barely withholding a grin. After that, Berlin. Captain Lamb asks, if you get there, book me in the Kaiserhof Hotel. I'm told the suites are excellent, Major Cloud says and lets out a chuckle. Only a few others join in. What is it, Captain? I was just on deck. Lieutenant Howard, my executive officer, just got his hand crushed in a cleat. Captain Lamb says without taking his eyes off the Major. Nickel Company is going into battle, and I need someone to handle the back half. Now? Major Cloud asks, really less than thrilled with the idea or venue for the discussion. We're on the first wave. We start loading in a half an hour, Captain Lamb says. The Major's gaze sweeps the room as he seeks a quick answer to the problem. I was just on deck. Lieutenant Howard, my executive officer, just got his hand crushed in a cleat, Captain Lamb says without taking his eyes off the Major. Nickel Company is going into battle, and I need someone to handle the back half. Now, Major Cloud asks, clearly less than thrilled with the idea or venue for the discussion. We're on the first wave. We start loading. Okay, I told my wife I would never volunteer. I'll do it, sir. Volunteer or do not volunteer. I'll do it, sir. Major Cloud tenders you a little nod of gratitude before he looks back to Lamb. There's your answer. No, sir. I'd rather not rob Peter to pay Paul, Captain Lamb says. My platoon need leaders. You know I'm down an experienced first sergeant already, and now his replacement is in sick bay with a burning fever. That's why my XO had to do the loading. Only now I don't have an XO, Major. I've got to have someone who can take the initiative with the company while I'm otherwise engaged. Major Cloud shakes his head. Then you'll have to wear both hats, Eli. We can't spare anyone. Captain Lamb tenders his superior officer a resigned, if understanding nod, and that seems to be that for your chance to become an XO. Major Cloud glances at his watch. It is now nearly midnight, he announces as he looks back up. We start loading the boats at 00:15 hours, and God willing, we'll be moving inland before sunrise at 6 o'clock. But get your men ready on deck. Dismissed. Beneath a midnight sky, your platoon clambers down the nets into the shadowed hull of the Higgins boats. One by one, their boots set foot on the plywood shell of the landing craft with muffled thumps. 30 men packing into one fragile hull. Dang it, Corporal Crossley shouts as he slips on the gunwale of the landing boat. His arms pinwheel as he tries to keep his balance. Sergeant Grant's arm shoots out, grabbing the man and hauling him into the boat. But Crossley's bar, the squad's only automatic rifle, flies from his shoulder. The weapon clatters against the hull as it slides towards the stern, just before it plunges into the deep. The strap is caught by a cleat on the outer hull. It dangles there just inches above the inky water between the landing craft and the rusted bulk of the Tasker H. Bliss. The weapon clatters against the hull as it slides towards the stern. Just before it plunges into the deep, the strap is caught by a cleat on the outer hull. It dangles there, just inches above the inky water between the landing craft and the rusted bulk of the Tasker H. Bliss. Okay. Didn't you hear, Crossley? Patterson cracks in the darkness. They canceled gymnastics at the Olympics. The platoon chuckles nervously as the bar gunner rises, with the boat due to depart in a few minutes. There's no time to draw a replacement weapon. Without the bar, your squad is down to their rifles, and as Morris pointedly notes, by padding at Crossley's sheathed bayonets. Well, I thought it was hanging somewhere. Is there going to be no option to try to get it? What a grand start. Sergeant Grant hauls Crossley over, jaw clenched at the latest of screw-ups before you even hit the beach. Here now is a fresh chance to lead, really lead, these men. The question is, new lessons or old habits? Crossley looks at you apologetically. Sorry, LT, he mumbles. Just above the idle thrum of the engine, the Higgins boat thumps against the ship's hull, threatening to dislodge the weapon and possibly crush anyone unlucky enough to get caught between the two vessels. Reselect a mindset from idealism, zeal cutting, or professionalism. Order Crossley to retrieve it. Keep my disciplined mindset. Really? That doesn't seem like good discipline to order a soldier into such a dangerous position where he's likely going to lose his life. Really? That's considered good discipline, is it? All right. The bar exam. The enlisted man nods glumly. All right, Lieutenant, I'm going. Crossley passes Morris his helmet with a deep breath. He clambers onto the shifting stern. I'm not sure this was a good idea, Lieutenant, Sergeant Grant says very quietly to you, and you alone, as you watch Crossley edge towards his weapon. Your platoon sergeant takes a moment to tuck a spare life jacket under his arm, ordering a man to risk his life for a weapon? We've got more guns. We've only got one Crossley. I agree. If he goes into the drink, the men will be pissed. Yeah, I agree. I'm not sure how this doesn't equal discipline. Well, I guess an unarmed soldier is worse than useless. Your sergeant sighs. Yes, Lieutenant, he replies. But the men might not see things that way. Not when the French might not even fight. Crossley's starlit silhouette crouches beside the cleat. Despite the seesaw of the ocean swells rise and fall, he reaches the edge and slowly pulls the weapon back by the strap. When Crossley returns to the deck, there is a round of low cheers. All seems forgiven. With the loading complete, you turn to the coxswain. We're done here. Get this boat moving. The Navy man turns the wheel and opens the throttle. At long last, you are on your way. Board ship, 7th November 1942. I guess this is a save point here. Probably a good spot. Aid your men. Click a portrait on the right to review and aid your men, or the question button. So this is different, right? I'm playing as me, which is the first platoon. Trust principles, but not shooting. Trust accumulated by leader being under fire with the squad. There's the unit's fire, movement, and morale checks. What does this do? Every 100 XP generates a positive modifier for actions and is reflected by a star on the unit banner. You can still undo commands by the use of cleverly named undo button. Aided. Undo. Aid again. Okay, so now my whole platoon has stars. Alright? And I think this is where we're going to save up this episode. Anyway, I'm James Johnson, aka Softwareblade. Hopefully you're enjoying the content. If so, please smash that like button, consider subscribing, and until the next time all, peace.